I played a bunch of it, and I got to the point where I'm pretty sure I'm like two boss fights away from beating the game, and I just can't do it because it's too fucking hard. Like
That's
it
good
is
though.
so fucking hard. Like I am having such a fucking hard time beating it.
Would you say that it reminds you of another NES game of 2015?
Are you talking about Shovel Knight?
Undertale.
Undertale? No. Actually, I think it's a lot different than Undertale. Because the main thing is like they are both like NES ish. Like I understand what you're saying, but I think that the main thing about this is that it looks a lot like maybe more classical in that way. Like
Oh, I don't think I ever actually saw the gameplay.
more like it is almost like a cross between like a Castlevania
Still don't
game and like
remember.
a Mega Man game or something like that.
Mhm.
Where or a Metroid game rather. You or all three, I guess. It's like a big hodgepodge of just like NES
Yeah.
era shit. So the main thing about it is it's an action platformer, I guess is the easiest way
Mhm.
to describe it. And you have like the most basic like attack and jump. And then as you just go, you get more abilities. Like you get the ability to put like a block down. You get like an ability to make a bubble that you can jump on. And then so
Yeah.
these naturally just kind of influence the way that you progress through the world. And it has like a lot of other people would call this non-linear. Not it has
Okay.
non-linearity. And it's not non-linear. You can't go wherever you want. You have to kind of it's gated in that like okay, so you come across a tower and there's just like a gap between you and the tower, and then like a door somewhere, and you're just like, I literally have no idea how to get to that door.
Let me go somewhere else until I can find
Yeah.
out how.
And then so there's never a point where the game's just like, okay, just go to here's I'm floating. Uh, the game's never like, okay, here is an objective marker, go here. Otherwise, you just can't do anything. It's just like, okay, here's all the dungeons. We're gonna point them out to like where the bosses are or whatever. That's about as much like direction as they give you. And then there's like, we're not gonna tell you how to get to the boss, like the space upon which that boss occupies the dungeon, what's required in that dungeon, like what kind of items you'll need, because you'll eventually need it. Like it's Zelda style in that you'll eventually need an item to get through a dungeon, but they're not going to tell you what
Okay.
that item is or how to actually use it.
Huh.
And then so you just kind of go for it, and you're just like, okay, well, I'm gonna go. You just do the Michael thing of just like, all right, I'm just gonna go take left turns constantly, and then until I hit like a brick wall that's just like you can't go anymore, I'm just gonna keep taking left turns.
Okay.
And then eventually those
That's worth it.
left turns get you into dungeons and stuff like that. So it's cool. And it wasn't quite as complicated as like I never played the original Zelda, but it never got to the point where like you needed to just actually plot out the entire thing on graph paper or whatever. Because it does provide you with a map, but it doesn't. It's not that detailed. It literally just tells you like, okay, here's all the save points, and then the layout for all the doors, and then that's it. Like how to get
Okay.
from
Does
room
it
to
fill
room.
in as you progress?
Yeah, it does. And I guess the weird thing is like you have to get the map, and then it doesn't fill out the space that you traversed already before you got the map. Even though,
So it's more you get a parchment of paper.
yeah.
That's weird.
Um, yeah, but so you do that, and you eventually just kind of fill in the map, and then you kind of do all this stuff, and you get more and more power ups and stuff like that. And yeah, and like I said, a lot of people would probably call this non-linear, and kind of like the thing that you like about a Zelda game or like the original Zelda game, but it is, just not. It's very obtuse about how you're supposed to progress. I think there is exactly one point where it's just like you need these items. Like it's not even just like
That
well
looks like
you. It's not just like you can't get up this tower. It's just like you cannot go unless you have a key and
yeah.
this power up.
Yeah.
So
That layout definitely looks like the first Zelda in terms of you don't know where things are unless you have a map, and that map might only have a dot, and that's kind of it.
yeah. And the first Zelda didn't even have a map, right?
It had it, so it kind of did in the top left, but it would be, I think, dungeon specific.
Oh, okay, yeah. Because I don't remember like an overworld map, and I think that's what a lot of people had like the little graph paper shit for.
Well, so the thing is, like, it actually came with a map on the original purchase, but they never, like, when they re-released the game, or if you bought it used, or if you got it from like Blockbuster or Hollywood Video, you just don't have a map because it's in the first copy or the first run. But the first time somebody opens it, they could just take it out, and then it's theirs. It's the same as like
they just buy copies of Zelda just to take the map, and they're just like, fuck the rest of you.
And then, but the thing is, like, there's somebody in the world probably who has like 50 maps. And
I'm gonna collect them all, and then no one will know where to
They're
go.
all mine. Well, so I mean, Breath of the Wild is going to be really interesting. The special edition, which comes with a like Hyrule tapestry.
I'm going to get them all, and then no one will have them.
And then I'll be the thief king.
I think the powers that you get a lightning bolt, like a fireball or whatever. But the other two power-ups are strictly traversal related. And I think the thing that's cool about this is that however they do it, however they do what they do in this game, it's such that like the power-ups become very like intrinsic to how you play the game. Like at a certain point, like I didn't just jump around. I like used the block power up to put a block down every single time I needed to jump, regardless of if I needed the block. And then I also used the bubble because the normal way that they would gate like getting to some of the different places on the map is just by having those there. And then so I just naturally used them more than I needed to because it felt more natural. Like it was just an extension. It felt more natural
to traverse using all this other stuff.
Yeah, it literally just felt like an extension of my jumping, which is cool. Which is effectively what it is, I guess.
But to have that feel the way it would, the way they intend it, is a pretty big accomplishment, I'd say.
Yeah, I guess the other thing that's kind of interesting is it is very like Castlevania-esque in that you have there's fucked up hidden shit. Like there's just weird like wall turkeys basically. Like there's just a wall and the wall's not real, but you can't tell from like this screen, but just any one of these walls could just be a blank wall that you can walk behind.
Which is why you just keep hitting the walls.
Yeah, I just keep hitting walls, just walking into walls randomly, just like some of these spike pits, spoilers, are not real, but there's a way to know, but you know, like you just have to, all right, I'm going to spend like 15 minutes trying literally every spike pit because, hey, one of these is going to lead somewhere. And the second one of them leads to somewhere, you have to start questioning, okay, is everything on the map real? Like, is any of this fake? Like, is one of these slightly real or not real? Or like,
how can yours be real if our eyes aren't real?
How can, yeah. So, and I guess we got to I got to the point where also, it did become, I don't know if Castlevania has any of this shit, but some other games have like things where you it's like it has this gigantic fetch quest in the game where you're just like, okay, I have to get an item from this one dungeon and bring it to this guy in another dungeon, and he's going to give me a bottle, and the bottle I have to do something with it and then give it to this other person, and then once that other person does it, he gives me like an item which I can get into like another dungeon, and then I can start doing
Zelda 2.
Yeah. It only happens like once, but it's kind of funny when it does happen. So there is that.
That's interesting.
Yeah, and I guess the other thing, I ended up, like I said, I'm like literally 2 boss fights away from beating the game, I'm pretty sure. And I don't know if I'm going to go back because the boss fight I'm on is hard as fuck. Like I am not enjoying doing it. It's so hard.
And for it to control like this is pretty, for it to control like this looks is pretty interesting.
Yeah, it's enjoyable. It's just like it's unforgiving, let's say.
Yeah.
In a way where just like I had fun with the rest of the game. Like I'm good. I don't have anything to prove, I don't think. And it's just kind of frustrating too because instead of it just being like a boss trial or anything like that, it's literally like, okay, it has the Dark Souls. I would describe it as like a problem where so you have to beat a boss, but in order to get to the boss, you have to travel like 4 screens.
Yeah.
And then the boss fight could be over in like literally 15 seconds because of how hard it is. And then you have to reload and then travel those 4 screens
again.
Yeah. So that can get kind of... And I think the thing that's worth mentioning, though, is while I think that's kind of frustrating and really difficult for like the last boss of the game, probably. Like there's probably 2 bosses, like I said. So like almost the last boss of the game. I made it through the rest of the game. So I feel like that says enough about how much I got through and how much I enjoyed it regardless. But I think also I think there are people that will appreciate that kind of difficulty.
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
And appreciate that, you know, it doesn't pull punches in that way, and it is very willing to just be like, okay, it's just a boss that literally machine guns fireballs at you, and then if you just don't do the right thing, you'll instantly die, and then you'll just the boss will just be like, okay, whatever, try harder next time, loser, and then you have to start over, and then that's it. So it's cool.
Sounds like it would either be the most frustrating game ever or the most fun game.
Well, yeah, I mean, I still think it's the NES game of the year, so there's that. I don't know how true this is to like 8-bit style, but I would imagine that it's pretty decently close.
It's 16. 16.
I think it has 16-bit color, but 8-bit influence or whatever.
Maybe.
I don't know how that stuff actually works on like a technical level, so there's that.
Maybe, yeah.
But yeah, I enjoyed it a lot. I highly recommend it. I wasn't really sure what to expect based on watching like the trailers and stuff, but I definitely really enjoyed it once I was playing it.
Awesome.